Hi, I'm Tom Lydon, editor of ETF Trends. Here in Denver at the Charles Schwab Impact Conference, I'm here with Chris Hempstead, head of ETF sales at KCG. Chris, great to have you with us.
Thanks for having me, Tom.
So listen, KCG, one of the biggest liquidity providers on the marketplace about ETFs. Tell us a little bit about what you folks do, and we want to get into some tips for advisors in liquidity as far as ETFs.
Sure, well, fundamentally we have in the ETF business two primary roles. One is as a market maker.
Right.
We are out there supporting the issuers. We're streaming markets on all of the lit exchanges, mainly, ARCA, NASDAQ, BATS, those types of exchanges. When ETFs list, they need a market maker or a lead liquidity provider to be out there supporting the market. That's one of our roles in the ETF marketplace. We currently lead in 650 some odd ETFs. Out of the 1,600 ETFs that are out there. The other half of our business, which is in a separate business line, is the client-facing business, often known as the high-touch business.
Right.
Since the vast majority of ETFs don't trade like water,
yes.
They pick up the phone and they call us and they're looking for advice on how best to trade.
Gotcha. All right, so let's talk about trading. The average advisor out there that might be moving from mutual fund land to ETFs, they're understanding pretty quickly a lot more goes into the whole liquidity process. So maybe give us a few tips on what advisors need to do when they're buying and selling ETFs.
Sure, yeah, I mean ETFs are, everyone's heard that ETFs are far more liquid than what they might see on the screens. Yep. So just for the purpose of this conversation, let's take names like SPY, IWM, and QQQ off the table because everybody knows they can trade those just like a stock. Let's look at all the other ETFs that may not have the benefit of high daily volume. So what we're trying to do is get people to understand what's a normal market. When is it good to trade? Is there depth of liquidity in the quote? You're seeing the kind of size that you can buy, and are the prices that you're seeing in the market consistent with what the index is worth, or what we commonly know as the INAV?
Yeah.
We encourage people to really look for these kind of valuations and get a sense of what a fair price is for their ETF.
So if an advisor, for example, happens to be custody at Schwab, they can still find out what the INAV is and look at the bid and ask spread, right?
Absolutely. There's a number of places they can look. I mean, most of the issuers have websites set up, I think all of them do actually, in the United States, where you can actually look at what the INAV is on their website. If that's not enough, you can go to Yahoo Finance, and if you're lucky enough to have a Reuters or a Bloomberg terminal, those are also vendors that can help you with INAV. Now just let me say, Tom, INAV during the day is a great metric and it works really well for the domestic ETFs.
Yes.
ETFs that have domestic securities in them that are trading while the US is open. INAV can be a little bit stale in some of the international securities. For example, in Asia, when their markets are closed while our markets are open, those INAV calculations really aren't updating. So
how do these ETF price? How do they price?
So well, market makers are making assumptions and taking risk, and they're saying, hey, look, if my global financials portfolio has a 20% slice in Asia and global financials are up since Asia's closed, they're going to adjust those prices up where they think they might be opening the next day. So they will take risks. That's what market makers typically will do.
So if you're at Schwab and you happen to custody at Schwab, do you have to trade through Schwab?
I don't know. I can't answer the question that you have to trade through Schwab, but we would encourage you to trade where it's most efficient for you. So,
yeah.
So if you need to call the Schwab desk, and you should call the Schwab desk if it's the most efficient route, pick up the phone and ask a question if you're not sure. The Schwab desk is equipped to handle those questions, to answer questions on liquidity, and they will reach out to firms like ours to ask the questions that they want to reach out on. So we want you to get that information. The most important thing for an advisor in trading is find a comfort level before you trade. Never trade if you're uncomfortable. Get comfortable with what you're doing, get comfortable with the pricing, and move forward once you've reached that comfort level.
Yeah, that's great. Chris, thanks so much for spending some time with me.
Anytime. We could talk for hours.
Okay.